Hello and how's it going, everyone? It is Skullzi here with the latest gaming news, rumors, and speculation. I have a pretty exciting video for you all today because I'm going to be continuing my video series where I break down every single known confirmed pieces of information thus far about Starfield. In yesterday's video I broke down all the known confirmed alien creatures and animals that we'd be discovering during our exploration in this game, and today I'll be talking about the things we'll be using to kill these creatures. Bear in mind though, all this information comes from the previous Starfield gameplay showcase, and there is most likely, in fact I'm pretty certain, there's a lot more weapons than this in the game. So after today's video, don't think that this is the only stuff we'll be using in the game. There's probably at least 10, 20 more weapons. I don't know, I'm just putting a number out there, but most likely there's a lot more stuff that I'll be breaking down in this video. This video is just the stuff confirmed thus far, so let's not waste any more time and get right into today's content. The first weapon I want to talk about is the Grendel, which appears to be a submachine gun designed by the company Combat Tech, and it uses 7.77mm ammo. I'm not a gun person, so I'm not certain if this type of ammo even exists. It's probably some type of futuristic bullet thing that's only seen in Starfield, but nonetheless, we see the Grendel get a lot of action in the Starfield showcase. The Grendel, in my opinion, resembles a modern, real firearm known as the P90, and it seems to have a very high fire rate, which makes sense because it's a submachine gun, and it also actually tells you the amount of ammo you have left on the gun itself, which is pretty interesting. I wonder what other futuristic things we'll see from guns in this game, but nonetheless, the Grendel is probably a weapon we'll get fairly early on, as it doesn't seem like it's all that powerful, but it makes up for that with a high firing rate. The next weapon, which again is something we see early on in the gameplay showcase, and is probably something we get early on in the game as well, which is the Ion Pistol. This is a sidearm which is also developed by the company Combat Tech, and the gun in itself seems to also be semi-automatic. And like the Grendel, it tells us the actual amount of ammo we have left in the gun as well. So the Grendel and the Ion Pistol are probably going to be some of the more common weapons we'll be using in the game until we find something better. Something better like the Equinox energy-based rifle, which we see the player have to pick a lock to get in the gameplay showcase. And one interesting thing about the Equinox is it looks vaguely similar to the Institute laser rifle from Fallout 4. Plenty of people have picked up on this and have discussed it over on Twitter and Reddit, and some people who took maybe a little bit too much Aurora Space Skooma seem to think that somehow, because the Equinox looks like the Institute laser rifle, that this is some kind of confirmation that Starfield takes place in the same universe as Fallout, which isn't the case. Bethesda has said a few times already and have confirmed that Starfield is in a standalone universe. It's not in the Fallout universe, it's not in the Elder Scrolls universe, which would make even less sense. It's a whole separate game universe from their other titles, but nonetheless, I'm sure Bethesda will drop some Easter eggs in Starfield regarding Fallout and maybe even the Elder Scrolls, but nonetheless, the Equinox is not one of those Easter eggs. One interesting thing I noticed though is even though the Equinox seems to have a slower firing rate, it does less damage than I would have assumed it does. We can see it definitely does a decent amount of damage, but judging by the fire rate of the Equinox laser rifle, it does about the same DPS value as the Grendel submachine gun. This might just be because the main player hasn't spent skill points to improve their usage with laser or energy-based weapons, but nonetheless, I hope the Equinox laser rifle gets a little bit of a DPS overhaul by the time the game releases, because if we have to pick a lock to use this thing, and if this is one of the first energy weapons we actually get in Starfield, I would hope it packs more of a punch. But nonetheless, this also confirms that energy laser weapons are in the game, which makes total sense because our spaceships use laser weapons, so I don't know why there wouldn't be a handheld version of a laser rifle. The next weapon is something that's a throwback to ye olde ancient times when compared to Starfield's 2333 setting, because yes, Starfield does take place in the year 2330, but nonetheless, the Coachman is a double-barrel shotgun. Doomslayer would be very proud to see this in the game, but unfortunately, unlike Doomslayer's double-barrel shotgun, this doesn't have a grappling hook that allows you to pull enemies towards you before blowing them into pieces. But the Coachman definitely does a heavy amount of damage, but nonetheless, it is a close-range weapon, so don't expect the damage to be anywhere near as good from far away as it would be up close and personal, which anyone who has played first-person shooters with shotguns should already expect this anyway. But during the gameplay showcase, we see the Coachman actually blows the enemy bandit back a bit and sends some of their limbs flying, depending on where the majority of the damage takes place. And when I say it sends the enemy's limbs flying, I don't mean like a Fallout 4 style dismemberment night-like thing. So far, dismemberment isn't confirmed in Starfield. I hope it is, though, because it would kind of break the immersion to throw a grenade at someone's feet and their entire body is intact after the grenade explodes. We didn't see any dismemberment in the previous Starfield showcase. I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure I'm not, because I watched that showcase every second by second at least 10 times by now. But nonetheless, there is a Coachman double-barrel shotgun for those of you who like to get up close and personal or cosplay as Doom Guy in Starfield. The next gun I want to talk about is the Maelstrom, a machine gun that appears to be more of like a light machine gun type thing. Light machine gun sounds a little different. A lot of people assume stuff like this would be called a heavy machine gun, and like I said, I'm not a gun expert. Maybe it is a heavy machine gun, but anytime I've seen a gun like this in modern days, it's usually classified as an LMG. The Maelstrom probably does a lot of damage when compared to the Grendel, and one interesting thing is Maelstrom is the name of one of the Cyberborg gangs in Cyberpunk. I'm not sure if Bethesda took some inspiration from the gang in Cyberpunk to name this gun after. In fact, I kind of doubt it, but nonetheless, we have a Maelstrom light machine gun as well, and we don't see this light machine gun very often in the Starfield gameplay showcase, so maybe this is something we get later on in the game, or maybe it's a more expensive firearm, because Bethesda seems to have stated that upgrades for weapons or just higher level weapons and better stuff for your ship will have a higher cost than what we've seen generally for new stuff in previous Bethesda games, which means the economy is probably overhauled and has a lot more depth to it as well, but that's a topic for a future video. The next weapon is the AR-99, which is a rifle constructed by Allied Armaments. This is another weapon that was showcased during that Starfield gameplay showcase, and we haven't seen too much of this gun yet. My take is it's more of a single shot or lesser fire rate type weapon that most likely can be upgraded to be a sniper rifle. We haven't really seen any 100% true sniper rifles in Starfield yet, but my take is the AR-99 can be upgraded and modified to be a long-range weapon. And another final thing I want to say before I move on to the next weapons is, I wonder if there is going to be some sort of gameplay mechanic regarding the atmosphere of the planets we're on, meaning that some planets will do better with laser weapons and other planets will do better with kinetic weapons such as standard firearms. I'm not a physicist, though. I don't know exactly how that would work, but it's just an interesting thought that I had, and something I wanted to mention real quick before moving on. The next weapon I want to talk about is the Cutter, which isn't necessarily a weapon. It's more like an industrial tool used for mining and gathering resources, because that's exactly what we saw the player character using it for in that Starfield showcase. They're mining some iron and collecting it in their inventory, and the Cutter kind of reminds me of the laser weapon that we used in No Man's Sky, which was your primary multi-tool, which you could use to gather resources but also kill stuff with. The Cutter can still be used as a weapon, though, because we saw a member of Constellation using it during a firefight with the Crimson Fleet pirates. Unfortunate that that Constellation member didn't have a real weapon to use, but nonetheless, it seems like the Cutter could definitely be a decent close-range energy weapon as well if you just had to use it in a pinch and didn't have any other weapon on you or were low on ammo. Melee weapons are also confirmed, as seen by some of the skills and character traits featured in the gameplay showcase as well, but we didn't really get any visual notification about what type of melee weapons there would be. I expect there to be the normal range of stuff though, like blunt weapons, sharp weapons, and maybe even some energy melee weapons as well. It would be pretty awesome if there is a Starfield version of lightsaber in the game, and it would be even more awesome if dismemberment was in the game, because then we could do some straight up Star Wars stuff and chop off people's limbs with our energy laser sword. But that isn't confirmed. It's just confirmed melee weapons will be in the game, and that's super hype. And finally, there is a wide range of various grenades as well. We see the player use a grenade in that gameplay showcase before they, for some reason, just step out of cover anyway before the grenade goes off and kills the enemy that the grenade would have killed anyway. So the grenade just bounced the enemy's corpse around. We didn't really get to see the grenade kill anybody straight up, but judging by how Fallout 4 had a wide range of thrown weapons like Molotov cocktails, EMP grenades, and just standard grenades as well, I'm assuming that Starfield will too have a wide range of thrown weaponry. Maybe even some space throwing knives or some space ninja throwing stars, but nonetheless, this is all of the confirmed weapons thus far that we've seen in actual Starfield gameplay. There might be a couple other weapons we can pick up on from concept art, because there is some Starfield concept art that has a person with a knife on their belt, and there's also some Starfield concept art that shows a drone too, so maybe our drone can also use some weapons. And while on the topic of a drone, Vasco has a wide suite of weapons as well. We haven't really seen Vasco fight per se, but it is confirmed we can also modify Vasco to be more of a combat robot rather than just a utility-based robot. So there'll definitely be some of that Fallout 4 robot crafting and upgrade vibes in Starfield, and this is everything so far that we've seen in the game. However, I am expecting there to be a lot more than this. Naturally, Bethesda doesn't want to show us everything in the game early on. They want us to have a lot to discover in the game as we play it ourselves. But either way, the weapons in this game seem varied and pretty interesting. Of course, we have long-range weapons, energy weapons, close-range shotguns, submachine guns, light machine guns, melee weapons, grenades. Anything that you would expect to be in this game will probably be in this game to a certain level. But what I want to know is, what is your favorite weapon, or what kind of weapons do you want to see in the game? And let me know down in the comments below. And as always, huge shout out to the following amazing people for going above and beyond to support the channel and the community. If you want to get a permanent future video shout out at the end of every single one of my videos from this point forward, you can support the channel over on Ko-fi, Patreon, or here on YouTube as an exclusive channel member, or via Super Thanks. I am updating this list tomorrow on Sunday, so if you want to get added to the list, now is your chance to get added to the upcoming shout out list before I update it again next week. Links for all this and more are down in the description below, and as always, thank you for watching.
It just works.